Alright, apparently I didn't make myself clear the first time when I covered this topic some weeks ago. Lose it with the stupidity of playing the anti-gunners game by attempting the lame strategy of shifting the gun control debate from, no, it's not the AR-15s, man, it's not guns, it's the mentally ill. Not going to go over well, unconstitutional, totally stupid. I'll explain all of this again because people didn't get the memo. Now first, again, when I talk about this, I will add, as far as Ian Miles Cheong, I follow some of his content, some of the news tips are very good, so I'm not berating him, I'm just pointing out, as I did with Tim Pool, who had a similar poll some time ago, you're literally playing the game of the people that have framed a long-term debate to try to disarm you. I will try to explain, again. When you say the mentally ill should not be able to have guns, you run afoul of a few things. First, well, pragmatism, because of course if someone's undiagnosed, then it doesn't really matter, does it? Secondly, who diagnoses mental illnesses in the United States? Who typically has a master's degree in psychiatry, or a PhD or whatever, in psychology or something like that? Are they A, people who are conservative, that is, they would coordinate more with your political beliefs, B, standard liberals, or C, leaning quite a bit to the left? Oh, that's right, a lot of them are leftoids, because a lot of them went to public educational edifices, and they spent most of that time getting propagandized to. Oh, how wonderful. So first, you're suggesting that the people that would be potentially excluded from the militia under, premises that you're putting forth, and, the link in the description, his poll is rather lopsided. It seems like a lot of people want to disarm the mentally ill again. We'll get into why that's a fuzzy idea in a moment. And you're saying that, first and foremost, the people that should ultimately make that determination through some legal proceedings, I presume, are people that don't even share your political beliefs. This would be like saying, hey, we need to do something about the educational stuff. Let's have a bunch of councils of teachers determining the course of education more directly. So, no, administrative process, fuck that. No business people, we're going to give it directly to the teachers. Oh, the unionized ones. Oh, the ones that, again, 70% of them are liberals. Oh, how lovely. That'll fix the educational system as far as wokeness goes. I'm sure that critical race theory will disappear immediately from the curriculum, and it won't be dumbed down because nobody can get fired anymore. That's not problem number one. Problem number two, again, is the historical connotations of mental illness. In this case, he's talking specifically about people who are severely depressed. They might be a harm to themselves. I will point out once again, the Founding Fathers would have defined criminal lunatics as not being part of the militia. Back in the 17 and 1800s, typically these people were on the funny farm or in a workhouse, unfortunately, or they were kept at home. They were put on a leash or in a cage, in some cases quite literally, because they were so troubled. They're incapable of being militia members. They probably couldn't operate a firearm. If they did, they certainly wouldn't do it safely. They also can't vote because they're a gibbering lunatic. They don't even understand the human language in some cases because they are severely messed up. They are violent in nature. So somebody who went on a killing spree would have been considered a lunatic back then. Of course, they would have gone to jail with the rest of the inmates, but they would have been also considered to be criminally insane. They would not be have been allowed to own a gun because it's impossible for them to partake in the activities of the militia safely and to any effect. They're more likely to kill a fellow soldier if they're mustered than they are to kill the enemy. They're more likely to kill small animals too, waste all their ammo because they're nuts. They're violent. They're criminally insane. The founders were aware of depression. What they called it was melancholy. And they considered it an imbalance of the humors. Do you know what they did for melancholy? You got drugs, you got encouraged to take physic, or you took an emetic or something like that to purge the bad humors from your body. So they would puke you or give you an enema, or if you were lucky, your doctor was wise enough to just say, oh, you know what, just here's some laudanum. This will make you feel better. Yeah, you feel a little bit woozy at first, but you might die, but you probably feel better. Seasonal affective. Okay, half the founders are living north of the Mason-Dixon line. Well, more than half, actually, I believe. And so there's seasonal affective disorder. Oh, what's that called? Oh, it's not a mental illness. You're not ill. You're just pissed off because it's cold and there's nothing to do. You know, you're living before electricity. You're pretty much keeping that cabin door closed whenever possible, I assure you. They would not have considered a person, whether topically or even severely depressed, to not be a member of the militia, because the only misuse of a firearm that they might engage in would be self-harm. Well, suicide has always been a thing. The founders don't really address this with regards to the militia. They make it clear that people that are of able body, age of majority, originally just men, but now women as well, and no longer people over 21 as originally, but in the 1970s, believe it or not, lowered to the age of 18. They're the age of majority. They can vote. The founders would not have considered a depressed person to be mentally ill at all. Even if it was severe, if they repeatedly tried to kill themselves, they would have called a priest. They wouldn't have called a doctor. The demons are inside of them. You know, they've got demons. Let's hold a prayer circle right quick before this person ends up in the 5th sub-level of hell, or whichever level suicides go to. The one with the where people are locked in trees and can only speak if they're injured. Dante's Inferno, very good work, by the way. No, this is stupid. What you're doing is you're effectively making the same argument that anti-gunners are already making. Well, certain people shouldn't be allowed to own guns. You're just putting a different metric to it. Well, you're playing their game. You're literally proclaiming the same exact concept. You're just trying to reframe the debate, but you're having the debate from their own perspective. So it's not really helpful now, is it? The founders wouldn't have considered the average person diagnosed as mentally ill today as being ill with anything. Depression, ADHD, they're on the spectrum. Oh, they're an indigo child, basically. No, they wouldn't have considered that to be an illness. Okay, the person's socially awkward. Okay, the person harms themselves. They would have considered this a medical problem, but not a form of lunacy. Lunacy is the only turn of phrase that they would have used to denote people that were allowed to have their rights rescinded. Eccentricity or imbalance of the humors would not have done it unless it leads to actual madness. That is, that they are a lunatic. Specifically violent, repeat offender on a violent level especially, constantly disorderly, depraved in some manner. Those people would not have been members of the militia. By the way, there's no problem with that, not only under originalism but under pragmatism. Everyone else, unless they're active duty or under 18, is a member of the militia. Yes, including if they've tried to hurt themselves before. They hurt themselves. They didn't hurt anybody else. So if you hand them a gun and they kill themselves, that's really sad. What if you hand them a bottle of aspirin? Are they allowed to buy aspirin at the store? Effectively, you're arguing for institutionalization. The problem is we don't have that policy, number one. I do agree with bringing it back in some cases, by the way. And number two, again, you have to go through a legal process to determine who's going to be in or out of the asylum, therefore temporarily or permanently deprived of their rights. And what methodology do you use for that? If the government of today had its way, it would use this methodology to declare effectively everyone mentally ill, which you could do. Everyone has quirks. Everyone has a bad day. Everyone at some point self-medicates or something under the sun. If you cast the definition broadly, 99% of the militia would be disqualified from gun ownership. By the way, if you're able to remove that right from a person, if there's such a specific danger that they can't be trusted with a gun, they can't vote, or they shouldn't be able to. They should be locked up in an institution. They can't make any of their own decisions. Okay, so we'll just enslave 99% of society. Taken to its logical extent, such a thing would actually result in that. So, again, I warn people on the right that are trying to reframe the gun debate as, hey, yeah, we agree with disarmament too. It's just you're trying to disarm the wrong people. Here's a better suggestion. Go hard against the inner city street gangs that are responsible for more than half of the actual gun violence in the country that doesn't involve suicide or accidental discharge or justifiable intent, so self-defense. Go after them. And then increase mental health funding. Yeah, part of that is an asylum system. We do need inpatient facilities for people who otherwise are just under a bridge muttering to themselves all day anyway. That's true. We can have that system back in play. But attempting to deprive them of their constitutional rights is really not a pragmatic way forward. It makes absolutely no sense, and if you're playing the devil's game, you're going to lose that particular match. And unfortunately, I do see some right-wing or right-leaning commentators engaging in that unhelpful behavior. By the way, I am writing a booklet on the topic of the gun rights debate, and it'll be released probably within a couple of weeks, so stay tuned. It's definitely going to be a banger. That's about all. Peace out.